Thank you so much. Okay. But it's really unusual to squeeze our stories into a half an hour format, but we'll do our best. This Palestinian terrorist to my right is my brother Bassam, the closest person to me on earth, much closer to me than many of my own people, many of my own family. And what makes us so close is the price that we both have paid as an outcome of this ongoing conflict between our two nations. We don't need words to understand each other. For me, Bassam is really like a brother. I look up to him. I admire him. I take a lot of strength out of him and my other brothers and sisters, Israelis and Palestinians, members of this unique organization of ours, which is known by the name of the Parents Circle, the Israeli-Palestinian Bereaved Families for Peace, which is probably the only organization on earth that does not seek new members. My name is Rami Elhanan. I'm 72 years old, graphic designer, living in Jerusalem. I was born in Jerusalem, seventh generation. And my story starts about 49 years ago. I was a very young soldier fighting this horrible October 73 war. We started it with a company of 11 tanks. We finished it with only 3. I've lost over there in the desert of Sinai, across the Suez Canal, some of my very close friends. I came out of it a very angry and bitter young man with one determination: to detach myself from any kind of involvement or commitment. I got out of the army. I went to Bezalel Art School to become a graphic designer. I got married and I had 4 kids. And 39 years ago, my daughter was born in Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem. Her name was Smadar. The name Smadar is taken from the Bible, the Song of Solomon. It means the grape of vine, which means the opening of the flower. And she really was a very sparkling and vivid and joyful little girl. She was very beautiful. She was an excellent student. She was a swimmer. She was a dancer. She played the piano. She was amazing. Everybody used to call her the princess. And we lived a very good life in our house in Jerusalem. My wife, which is the professor for education in the Hebrew University, my 3 boys, and this princess, and what seemed to be the perfect sheltered way of life. In many ways, you could say that we put ourselves inside a big bubble, completely detached from the outside world, minding our own business. I was doing graphic design for the right wing, for the left wing, whoever paid me. And life was very comfortable and easy. And this went on until about 25 years ago. On the 4th of September, 1997, this bubble of us was blown up to millions of pieces. 2 Palestinian suicide bombers blew themselves up in Ben Yehuda Street in Jerusalem. They killed 5 people that day, including 3 little girls. One of these girls was my 14 years old Smadar. It was Thursday afternoon and the beginning of a very long and a very cold night, which continues until today. At first, when you hear about the explosion, you keep hoping that maybe this time this finger will not turn towards you. Then gradually you find yourself running in the streets, trying to find her. She completely disappeared. You go from hospital to hospital, from police station to police station, many long and frustrating hours until eventually very, very late at that night, you find yourself in the morgue and this finger is stuck right between your eyes. And you see this sight which you will never, ever be able to forget for the rest of your life. And then you come back home, the house is filled immediately with thousands of people coming to pay respect, to offer condolences. These are the 7 days of the Jewish mourning period. It's called Shiva. you're kind of enveloped by these thousands of people in a very clever, traditional way that is designed to ease your passage to the new life which expects you. On the 8th day, they go home. Suddenly you are left alone. You need to wake up. You need to stand up and face yourself. And you have to make a decision. What are you going to do now with this new unbearable burden on your shoulders? What are you going to do with this anger that eats you alive from within? There are only two ways to choose from. First one is obvious. When someone kills you, 14 years old girl, you are so angry and you want to get even, which is natural, which is human, which is the way most people choose, the way of retaliation and revenge, this way that creates this endless cycle of violence that we see its outcome just last week. But then after a while, you start to think, we are human beings, we are not animals. We can use our heads, and you start asking yourself questions. Will killing anyone will bring her back? Will causing pain to someone will ease this unbearable pain? And the answer is certainly no. So you choose the other way, which is much more difficult, trying to understand what happened here. Why did it happen? How could such a horrible thing take place? What can cause someone to be that angry, that mad, that desperate, that he's willing to blow himself up with 14 years old little girl? Do you have some kind of connection to it yourself? Maybe some kind of responsibility? Well, it's not easy. It takes time. It took me almost a year. About a year later, I met a big man who changed my life. His name was Yitzhak Frankenthal. He was a religious Jewish guy, with a big kippah on his head. You know how we tend to put people into drawers and stigmatize people. And we judge people by the way they dress. And I was certain that this guy was a fascist and a right-winger, that he eats Arabs for breakfast. I prepared myself to fight him. We started talking. He told me about his son, Arik, soldier who was kidnapped and murdered by Hamas in 1994, about this organization that he created of people who lost their loved ones and still wanted peace and search for peace. And he invited me over to watch a meeting of this group of crazy people. And I got a little bit curious. I said, okay, it was 24 years ago. I was standing aside, very detached and reluctant and cynical, as always I am. And I was watching those people coming down from the buses. And from the buses came down people that, for me, as an Israeli patriot, were always living legends. I used to look up to them. I used to admire them. I never ever thought that one day I will become one of them, people who lost their loved ones and still search for peace. But then I saw something which was completely new to me, to my eyes, to my soul. I was standing there watching the Palestinian bereaved families coming down from the buses, walking towards me, shaking my head for peace, hugging me, crying with me. And I was so deeply touched and so deeply moved. You see, I was 47 years old at the time. And until today, I'm ashamed to admit it was the first time ever in my life I have met Palestinians as human beings, not as workers in the streets, not as terrorists, not as transparent people, as human beings who carry the same burden that I carry, who suffer exactly like I suffer. And I was so moved. I remember seeing this old Arab lady coming down from the bus with this long black traditional Palestinian dress. She had a picture of a 6-year-old kid on her chest, exactly like my wife carried the name of our daughter, Smadari, on hers. I have no way of explaining what happened to me back then, 24 years ago. All I can tell you is from that moment on until today, I devote my life to go everywhere possible, to talk to anyone possible, people who want to listen and people who will not listen, to convey this very basic and very simple message, which says we are not doomed. This is not our destiny to keep on killing each other in this holy land of ours forever. We can change it, and we can break once and for all this endless cycle of revenge. And the only way to do it is simply by talking to one another, because it will not stop unless we talk. This is what we do, my brother Bassam here and the 600 families members of this organization, we bang our heads against this very high wall of hatred and fear that divide our two nations today. And we put cracks in it, crack after crack. And through these cracks, a little light comes in. And a little light can drive away a lot of darkness until we will put those walls down, because the alternative is horrible and painful. And we have an enormous ally on our side, which is the power of our pain, which is very similar to the nuclear energy. So this is what we are doing. We go from high school to high school. We talk to Israeli kids, we talk to Palestinian kids, and we tell them that our blood is exactly the same color, that our pain is exactly the same pain, and our tears are just as bitter. And if we who have paid the highest price possible, if we who have every reason on earth to want to kill each other, if we can call each other brother, anyone can, anyone should. Thank you very much for listening. Yalla, Abu Arab.
يعطيك العافية أبو إلك. Thank you, brother. Yes, it's very strange to talk 30 minutes, and it's very strange to talk to each other. We don't see the audience, but we feel them. It's a very short. For that, we are not going to represent our whole story because it's very long. But in general, I want to say a few words that I learned from my experience that if you know more, you act much better. If you don't know, simply you don't know. So sometimes you'll be a victim to yourself, to your history, to your narrative. You need to know the others. Otherwise, always you will be stuck in yourself, as I said, and in your history. It's very strange for us, for Palestinians, to grow up under strange occupation. People that they don't look like you, they don't speak your language, and they come to occupy and control your life. Simply you need to resist. It's exactly, if you imagine that, I don't know, Muslims now who come to occupy Switzerland for their own reasons, and you don't understand why. You need to resist them. By the way, if you know or you don't know, I don't know, that the Muslims ruled Switzerland for 150 years at the time of the Vikings, if you don't know, back in the history, around 700 or 800. So it's very difficult. As I said, I found myself as a fighter or a warrior by raising the Palestinian flag, which was a crime in that time, still a crime until today. I joined a group of kids at the age of 13, and this was our mission. And later on, we find some old weapons. We don't know how to use it, including two-hand grenades. And two of my friends throw the two grenades on the Israeli soldiers in our village near Hebron. And of course, in that time, no one killed, no one injured, because they don't know how to use it. For them, it was like a game. And for that, I spent 7 years in the Israeli jails. It's very difficult. It's a very long 7 years. But in the beginning, I watched a movie about the Holocaust, which is, I don't know anything about it. We consider it's a big lie that Hitler killed 6 million Jews for us. But it was very sad for me. In spite, I want to enjoy seeing this movie. But after a few minutes, I found myself crying. It's unbelievable. I don't expect to see such atrocities. So I decide that I want to know more about this big lie, if it's really happened or it's just a movie about the Holocaust. And after around 25 years, I make my master degree about the Holocaust in Bradford University in the UK. Then after that, I start to visit death camps in Germany to know more about the history of the Holocaust. Then I discovered that if you know more, you act much better. It's a long story again, how to change yourself. Because there is someone called Jalaluddin Rumi, or Rumi. Before 800 years, he says, yesterday I was clever, so I start to change the world. Today I am wise, so I start to change myself. Remember, if you don't change yourself, you will never change anything. So this is what I start to do to change myself. It means to understand more about myself, my society, my struggle, and my enemy, the other side, the Israelis or the Zionists or whatever. I start to be active after I get released and I get married, that we need to change our way to achieve our freedom. It means by non-violence means together, Israelis and Palestinians, because both of us, we are under the Israeli occupation. The occupation affects the Israelis and killing their moral fiber exactly as it oppressed and occupied the Palestinians. So this is our common enemy. If there is no occupation, we don't need to fight each other. We don't need to kill each other. In fact, in 2007, in the 16th of January, an Israeli border police shot and killed my 10 years old daughter, Abir, in front of her school from a distance of 15 to 20 meters in her head from the back. She fell down, and 2 days later, she passed away in Hadassah Hospital, where she born, and where Smadar born and died. You know, as you see, between Abir and Smadar, it's 10 years, but it's the same killer, the same occupier who killed our both daughters. So in fact, I met my brother Rami 2 hours after they shot Abir in the hospital, and more than 30 Israeli families who stay with me 3 days until Abir passed away. It's a long process, as I said, to release yourself from yourself, but also to be always connected to the reality. I understand that if I kill the rest of the Jewish on earth, not only the Israelis, I will never meet Abir again. And the problem, it's nothing to do with your pain. It's 24 hours forever, whatever happened. You need to know how to use this pain, how to live with this pain, and not to harm yourself and not to harm others. In fact, I met the victim who killed my daughter after 3.5 years in the Israeli court in Jerusalem. And I said to him, I need you to know that you are not a hero and you are not a warrior. You didn't kill the enemy or the terrorist, you just killed 10 years innocent girl. And if you believe and you are proud of what you did, you can enjoy your crime. I don't ask for revenge because I don't take revenge from victims. For me, you are not less victim than your victim. But in any day in your life, if you come to ask me to forgive you, always you will find me there. I will forgive you, but it's not because of yourself at all. It's because of myself, because I really love my daughter very much. And because I have another 5 kids, I don't want them to grow up as victims to you, and you are victim by yourself. The most difficult thing is to release yourself from your anger, from your hatred. Then, when you succeed to overcome this painful, unbearable pain, you will discover that you are a free man and no one can occupy you. And you have no enemies. And you never give up your story. You never give up your nationality. You never give up your humanity. And you will continue to fight to achieve peace and justice all over the world. We want to teach the others, as we learn from others, that we can use our pain in a different way, not only for revenge. And revenge, it's not only to kill. We can take revenge in a different way. Always I said that we need to share this land, Israel or Palestine, the promised land or the Islamic land, it's the same land. We need to share it as one state or 2 states or 5 states. Otherwise, we will share the same piece of land as 2 big graves to our kids, our families, and our people, because both of us will exist and we have the right to exist. We have no other place. We need to live on this land. So it's up to us to live side by side or together. Or unfortunately, as long as the occupation continue, we will continue to sacrifice the blood of our kids to protect the holy stones of the Holy Land, or the Holy Jerusalem. Israelis and Palestinians in this unique organization, the Parallel Circle, we are more than 620 families. We come together to raise our voice and to say no more blood, no more killing, because our kids is the most important thing for us, and nothing worth to sacrifice their blood, because we love our kids and we love our families. We don't want them to kill or to be killed. And our lives is more important than any Holy Land. Thank you very much for listening.